Mouse1 here. Welcome to a slightly different video. In this video I am going to be sewing for once, which is something that I never do, and I'm going to be trying to make a Nekobus Halloween costume like the Nekobus in My Neighbour Totoro. So yeah. At first I use these really rubbishy scissors to cut the fabric. Eventually I do actually use some fabric scissors because, you know, it just makes sense. But yeah, I really have no idea what I'm doing when it comes to textiles. It's never been something I've particularly enjoyed, although I did find this rather fun to do. I was surprised how fun I found this, because I always thought that textiles were something that bored me, which it has in the past, but yeah, this was actually pretty relaxing and fun to do. And before you ask, yes, I do have a sewing machine. No, I don't use it on this project for no particular reason other than I haven't used the sewing machine since I was about 7 and I don't really remember how. So yeah, I do all the sewing by hand, which took longer and is a bit messier, but it did the job, so you know, it's fine. Yeah, all the fabric, like, I either got off Amazon or a local craft store, so yeah. And a lot of the equipment, like thread, sewing pins, all that, we just had it around the house. My mum's quite into sewing, way more so than me, so she had all the stuff. I just needed to figure out how to use it. So yeah, Halloween's probably my favourite holiday of the year. It just provides so many creative opportunities, the ability to like dress up and all that. And also, yeah, you might notice that I'm wearing these really fluffy pyjamas in a lot of it, for the simple reason of I'd recorded this quite early in the morning and I couldn't be bothered to get changed, and the pyjamas were incredibly comfortable. So I was like, why would I want to get out of them when I could just wear these? So yeah, as you can see, these scissors are working a lot better than the scissors which aren't designed for the job. Funny that, isn't it? How the thing that's supposed to do the job does the job better than the things it's not supposed to. And then I just start tacking these pieces together and just start stitching them up as so. I know the colours are slightly off, especially the lighter one is a bit more desaturated than the actual colour is. This isn't going to be a perfect representation of the cat bus. It's a costume that I'm going to wear once per year, maybe. Like, it's not like I wanted to do loads and making this the best costume ever. I just wanted to make something fun and quirky, and yeah. This bit was pretty repetitive, and but like, it's like one of those sort of like turn your brain off and time passes quite quickly. I guess it's like one of those mindfulness things, I suppose. The biggest thing for me was a lot of this I needed a larger space to work in, so I had to do it in the kitchen rather than at my desk, and that meant I didn't have a computer in front of me. So I was working in complete silence, which is really unusual for me. Normally I'm watching something in the background, listening to music, catching up on a TV show that I missed or whatever. But yeah, for a lot of this I was doing it in total silence, which was an odd experience to me, but like, it wasn't entirely unpleasant. It allowed me to shut my brain off, and it actually meant I stayed focused on what I was doing instead of getting so absorbed into the latest House of the Dragon episode that like I got completely distracted. Isn't House of the Dragon a great show, by the way? Like, really good. Better than Rings of Power at any rate. So yeah, just stitching everything together. The only slightly annoying thing about not having a computer present was I had to keep running to the other room to check the reference images for the Nekobus. In hindsight, I do have a copy of like a hand-drawn version of Dot, and I don't know why I didn't use that as my reference, but you know, whatever. It worked the way I was doing this. Also, I didn't plan anything. Like, I think with like costume design and stuff, you're supposed to figure out all the measurements beforehand. With this, I was kind of like, this looks good. And I just kind of eyeballed it and then just tried to keep it consistent throughout the rest of the design. I planned nothing before I actually started doing it, which I'm not sure is a great course of action when it comes to costume making, but again, it worked, so, you know, who's complaining? So, yeah. Just cutting out the windows on the side of the bus, because the thing I want to do first is get the like 4 sides of the bus done, then I can work out all the added extras. So yeah, I was doing the windows for the sides of the bus. Obviously I'm not doing a door, because the door kind of, it's weird, the door just opens out of a window. And funnily enough, I don't have the expertise to make a door that could increase or shrink in size. So yeah, I'm just kind of winging it. One thing I'm interested in is how they did the Nekobus, because they made a new like West End show of it, didn't they? And I haven't seen it yet. I've just seen a couple photos, and I haven't seen how they did the Nekobus in that. So yeah, I kind of want to know how they did the costume work in that. I have entirely, like, I have complete faith in the Royal Shakespeare Company though, so I'm sure the show's really good, but I haven't seen it, so, you know, whatever. I just started stitching all the sides, like, all the pieces together, trying to make a nice, like, consistent look to it. Yeah. I'll admit the most annoying thing was how often I got the thread tangled and knotted when I didn't want it to. It happened so often and it was so annoying. So yeah, I think it's because I tried to work with 2 long pieces of thread at any given time. Like if I worked with shorter pieces, that probably would have been less of a pain. But yeah, I'm gonna try and get the windows as similar as possible on both pieces. Again, probably would have helped if I had measured it properly, like a sane person, you know. And then for the back piece, the window's basically the same size as the front ones, just instead of it being 2 different windows, it's just one big one. So yeah, that was actually fairly easy to do. I just stitched all that up in much the same way that I did everything else, like just creating nice hems and all that. The amount of times I stabbed myself with a needle as well is also insane. There's probably better ways of doing things, but whatever. I'm just sewing all that up, and then I start tacking the sides together so that I could start connecting the different pieces. Like, so I basically do it so the insides are both facing each other, and then I stitch it together, and when I turn it inside out there's a nice seam along there in a way that looks quite neat. Yeah, the last time I did any real sewing was like in a year 9 textiles class, and in that case we're only making pillows and mine looked awful. So yeah, I was surprised how it didn't look completely awful because I haven't done this in ages. But it's funny how much of many of the techniques and stuff do come back to you when you're actually trying to use them. And I'm sure there are better ways of doing a lot of stuff, but I was surprised by how much stuff I did just remember. And then I create some like mice. Yes, I know the mice on the actual thing are grey with pink eyes. I didn't have any grey fabric, I did have pink fabric, so I just went with that. And I think they look pretty cute either way, so, you know. Again, we're talking about an anthropomorphic cat bust. I don't think accuracy is necessarily within the realm of necessity. So, you know, just cutting all that out. And then I start pinning the edges in so I can actually sew them up to create little plush mice. Obviously, because one's bigger than the other, it's slightly difficult to figure out exactly how much fabric I should leave between each stitch. But I did figure it out, and I think it did come out pretty cute in the end. I made 2 of them. The first one's slightly messier than the second, but the process was the same, and it's just like I've kind of figured out what I was doing a bit better on the second one. So yeah, I turn it inside out to hide the stitch work, and then I stuff it to create a nice little plush. It's like a pink carrot, but yeah, it turns into a mouse eventually, so, you know, I think it's pretty cute. Then I stitch on some little ears, trying to make them, like, by tightening I try and make it so they kind of stand up, which they do a bit. It's not, like, great, but it works. It works to about the extent I expected it to work, so, you know. And then I just stitch on some little black dots for eyes. Then I stitch it to the front of the bus. There's one on each side. So yeah, these are like the bus's headlamps. I didn't make them light up because that'd have been a lot of work. And now I create like the name place thing that goes on the front of a bus. This is where it's going. Yeah, like the sign that just says what the route is. Because I wasn't sure what to write on it, I just wrote Hannah Mouse 1. Because, you know, YouTube handle. not my YouTube channel. They're making a new YouTube handle thing now, aren't they? I don't know how that's gonna work, but you know, whatever. So yeah, I just stitch on Hannah Mouse 1 to the front, and I just stick that onto the, or sew that on as neatly as possible. So yeah, then I start working on the Nekobus's face, which was definitely the bit which made this come to life the most. I give it like little tiger stripes down the side of face, give it a nice big mouth and little eyes on each side, as so. Yeah, just cutting those out, and then I hem along the top edge, and then I stick, I kind of just add that onto a bit of brown fabric, so that I can stitch that one on. Then I cut the brown fabric down to size so that I can stitch it to make a nice circle shape, and I go all the way around like that, trying to keep as close to the edge as possible to make sure that as little as possible of the edge comes up. Again, I'm sure there's better ways of doing this, I just don't know them. Yeah, I don't know how much sewing I'm going to do in the future. Like I said, I enjoyed it. If you really want to see more, I will, but you know, it's not really my strong suit, so yeah. I create a little pink nose Nekobus. I use the same colour as I did for the mice, you know, for cohesiveness sake. And then I do the mouth. I use an old bed sheet for the teeth because the colour's right and, you know, it's less wasteful than throwing it away. And then I embroider some teeth lines vertically down the length of the mouth in much the same way that it is in the film itself, although these lines are slightly thicker. Then I do a very similar process with the eyes, hemming all the way around as such. Yeah, just keep going all the way around, and then I add in these little black pupils, which looks slightly messy, but I do think it does have a kind of quaint charm to it. Yeah, I hem them up, then just stitch them on, as so. And I think it looks good enough, as you can see. Then I go all the way around the edge, stitching on a back slightly smaller circle. It's much the same process I did for the mice, just stitch it up, invert it, then stuff it, as so. Then I cut out some ears for the cat, try to make them as symmetrical as possible. As you can see, these are very simple, just triangles in each colour stitched together, stuffed, sewn on. And yeah, it creates a nice cat ear thing, which I think looks pretty good. And then when that's done, I just stitch that onto the front of the bus. Then I go on to making the tail by stitching in rows of coloured fabric that I stitch together, cut to shape. It's much the same process as the other thing. Basically, this is a bus frame with a bunch of stuffies on it. But yeah, it's much the same process, just stitch together, invert, stuff. Yeah. Then I do a very similar process for the little feet. Why does the Nekobus have to have so many feet? Oh my god. And these are way smaller than they should have been, but I was kind of running out of the fabric in the right colour, and I didn't want to buy more just for the feet, so yeah, it has very small feet. But I give them little brown stripes on each one. And so yeah, going all the way around there, hemming it up, and then just sticking them onto the end. I used wire from an old laundry horse to try and shore up the edges. Eventually I did move these so they're hidden in the seams, but because it was so fiddly I didn't record it because I genuinely had no clue what I was doing, and it was an absolute mess the way I was doing it. But yeah. Then I create some black straps to go over my shoulders just because it was a bit too wide for me and it was kind of compressing the front when I wore it. So I decided that I wanted to just have something to support my weight against, as So just stitching onto each side, and then I added little like bits that go between those two straps that will go over my shoulders. And this is the final piece. I think it looks pretty cool. Other than that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week with another video. Bye!